There is a hand plane in a Lancaster County barn that was manufactured in 1891. I held it. It is heavy, well-balanced, and sharp. The sole is flat. The blade is keen. It was used last Tuesday to flatten a workbench surface that had warped over winter. It will be used next Tuesday for something else. It has been used continuously for 133 years in the same family, and it shows no significant rust damage on any of its working surfaces. I asked how this is possible. The farmer's answer was two things: coconut oil after every use, which I covered last week, and lemon juice when rust appears despite the oil, which happens occasionally when a tool is stored wet or left outside in rain. The lemon juice protocol takes 20 minutes. The cost is $2.19 for a bottle that handles dozens of restoration sessions. The hand plane that came out of the lemon juice soak looked like it had been professionally restored. The rust was gone. The metal was clean. The surface was ready for the coconut oil protective coat that would prevent the next episode. Here is the chemistry that makes a fruit juice more effective than most commercial rust removers. Rust is iron oxide, specifically Fe2O3 and Fe3O4, the two primary forms of iron oxidation that develop on steel tool surfaces. Removing rust requires either mechanically abrading it from the surface, wire brushing, sanding, grinding, or chemically dissolving it through a reaction that converts the iron oxide to a soluble compound that can be rinsed away. Mechanical removal is the method most people default to because wire brushes and sandpaper are familiar tools. It works, but it has a significant problem. Wire brushing does not remove all of the rust. It removes the surface rust while embedding microscopic rust particles into the scratches and pits that the brush itself creates. Those embedded particles are rust nucleation sites, starting points for the next rust cycle. A wire-brushed tool rusts faster than a chemically cleaned tool because the wire brushing has created more surface area for the rust reaction and has seeded that surface area with rust particles. Chemical removal through chelation dissolves the iron oxide without touching the underlying metal and without creating new surface area. The iron oxide dissolves into solution and rinses away. The underlying iron surface is exposed clean, without embedded particles, without new scratches. The tool rusts more slowly after chemical cleaning because it has a cleaner, smoother surface than after mechanical cleaning. Lemon juice performs chelation through citric acid. Citric acid is a tricarboxylic organic acid that binds strongly to iron ions, the ionic form of iron that rust consists of. When the iron oxide contacts the citric acid solution, the acid donates hydrogen ions that convert the iron oxide to soluble iron citrate, which remains in solution and is rinsed away with the lemon juice. The reaction is selective. Citric acid chelates iron oxide much more aggressively than it affects metallic iron, meaning the rust dissolves while the underlying steel surface is largely unaffected. The lemon juice rust removal protocol has 3 steps. Each step matters. Skipping the third step is the most common mistake. It is the reason people report that tools flash rust immediately after lemon juice treatment. Step 1. The soak. Pour undiluted lemon juice into a container large enough to submerge the rusted item. For small tools like chisels, a glass jar works. For larger items, use a plastic storage bin. Submerge the rusted item completely. The citric acid reaction begins immediately on contact. Soak time depends on rust severity. Light surface rust requires 15 to 20 minutes of soak time. Moderate rust with visible pitting requires 1 to 2 hours. Heavy rust requires 4 to 8 hours or an overnight soak. Do not soak beyond 12 hours for precision tools. Extended acid exposure can begin to affect the temper of hardened tool steel at the cutting edge in some cases. During soaking, the solution will turn orange-brown as iron citrate accumulates. This is the visual confirmation that the reaction is proceeding. Agitate the container occasionally to bring fresh acid into contact with the rusted surface. Step 2. Removal and scrubbing. Remove the item from the lemon juice soak. The rust will now be loosened. Use a soft brush without wire brushing or sandpaper. The softened rust lifts away without the scratching that wire brushing causes. Rinse the item with clean water immediately after scrubbing. Step 3. Neutralization. This is the step most guides omit, and why most people experience immediate flash rusting. Citric acid leaves a residual acid film. That film is highly reactive with atmospheric oxygen and the trace moisture in ambient air. Within minutes of rinsing, the clean metal surface begins to react with oxygen, producing the flash rust that causes treatment failure. The neutralization step eliminates the acid film. Mix 1 tablespoon of baking soda per quart of water in a clean container. After rinsing the lemon juice from the treated item, immediately submerge it in the baking soda solution for 2 to 3 minutes. The baking soda neutralizes the residual citric acid, raising the surface pH from acidic to slightly alkaline. Rinse with clean water, dry immediately with a clean cloth, and apply a protective oil coat within 5 minutes of drying. A tool that is neutralized and oiled within 5 minutes will not flash rust. A tool that is rinsed and left to air dry without neutralization will show flash rust within 5 to 15 minutes. The lemon juice soak works for any item small enough to submerge. For larger rusted items, axe heads, saw blades, vice jaws, large plain bodies, 2 alternative methods serve the same function at comparable cost. The vinegar overnight soak. White vinegar contains acetic acid, which performs the same chelation reaction as citric acid through a slightly different mechanism. The acetic acid is less aggressive than citric acid at equivalent concentration, making the vinegar soak slower, but also gentler on precision surfaces. Fill a container with undiluted white vinegar. Submerge the rusted item. Allow to soak for 8 to 12 hours, typically overnight. The rust will be significantly softened and can be removed with a soft brush. Apply the same baking soda neutralization step immediately after rinsing. The vinegar soak is the preferred method for large items because a 5-gallon bucket of white vinegar costs $8 to $12 and can treat multiple items. The electrolytic rust removal method for severely rusted items. This is used for tools with rust penetration too deep for acid chelation to address effectively. Required materials: a 5-gallon plastic bucket, water, washing soda, a battery charger, steel rebar as the sacrificial anode, and the rusted item as the cathode. Fill the bucket with water and dissolve 1 tablespoon of washing soda per gallon. Connect the positive terminal to the rebar and the negative terminal to the tool. When current flows, the electrochemical reaction at the cathode reduces the iron oxide back to metallic iron, rather than dissolving it into solution. After 2 to 4 hours, the rust has been converted, and the tool surface can be scrubbed clean with a soft brush. The setup takes 15 minutes and runs unattended. It converts rust back to metal, meaning the surface retains more original thickness than acid chelation. For antique tools with significant pitting where preserving every fraction of metal thickness matters, electrolysis is the preferred method. Naval jelly is a commercial rust remover using phosphoric acid. It converts iron oxide to iron phosphate, which remains on the surface as a thin gray coating. For tool restoration where surface quality matters, citric acid from lemon juice produces the better result at the lower cost. The Lancaster County tool chest contains tools from 1887 because of a 3-layer protection system that the family has maintained without interruption since the tools were new. Understanding this system explains how a hand plane manufactured before the automobile exists can still be in weekly working use in 2024. Layer 1. After-use wipe. Every metal tool surface is wiped with a lightly oiled cloth, coconut oil on a cotton rag, before it is returned to the chest. The wipe takes 10 seconds per tool. The oil coat prevents the moisture and oxygen contact that initiates rust. This is the only layer that needs to function perfectly. If a tool is returned to the chest clean and oiled, it will not rust in storage regardless of the storage environment. Layer 2. The drawer liner. The tool chest drawers are lined with cloth that has been lightly saturated with linseed oil and allowed to cure to a tacky finish. The cured linseed oil in the liner releases small amounts of oil vapor that maintain a slightly oil-rich microenvironment in the closed drawer. Tools stored on the liner receive a continuous minimal oil exposure that supplements the after-use wipe coat. Layer 3. The restoration protocol. When a tool misses the after-use wipe and develops surface rust, the lemon juice protocol removes it before it progresses. The restoration cost is 15 cents in lemon juice and 20 minutes of work. The cost of not restoring it, $40 to $200. The protocol has been used on every tool in the chest at some point over 137 years. Every tool is still in the chest. The economic picture. Lemon juice for restoration, approximately $4 per year. White vinegar for larger item soaks, $8 for a 5-gallon bucket. Total rust management cost, $12.50 per year. Commercial rust removal products for equivalent volume, $40 to $80 per year. Over 20 years, $500 to $1,300 saved. Plus the replacement cost of every tool prevented from progressing to structural damage. The hand plane from 1891 is worth $200 to $400 at antique prices. Its replacement value as a working tool is comparable. The family's investment has been 10 seconds of wiping after each use and 20 minutes of lemon juice treatment perhaps twice a decade. The tool has been in weekly use for 133 years. It will be in use for the next 133 if the system is maintained. It is $2.19. It has been there since before the hand plane was manufactured. It will be there after the hand plane outlasts every power tool. Drop in the comments what rusted tools you have been meaning to restore. The hand plane from an estate sale. The cast iron pan your grandmother left you. Tell me the rust severity and I will tell you whether lemon juice, vinegar, or electrolysis is the right protocol for your specific situation. The tools are not gone. They are waiting for 20 minutes and $2. That is all that separates a rusted tool from a working one. It always has been.